Commuters are being warned to brace for tube strikes, which could bring London to a standstill when workers walk out across the entire network in a pay dispute after the Jubilee. Thousands of workers who are members of the Rail, Maritime and Transport (RMT) union are launching industrial action for 24 hours on Monday, June 6 over jobs, pay and condition. It will come as vast parts of the capital attempt to get back to work following the long bank holiday weekend to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and while thousands of tourists will also be in London to soak in the atmosphere of the celebration. Transport for London, TfL, says many stations, especially those in the centre of London, will be closed from start of service on Monday until 8 a.m. on Tuesday, June 7. Those stations that can be open may only do so for limited periods, and the situation is likely to change throughout the day depending on whether TfL has enough staff to safely keep stations open. People are advised to avoid travelling on the tube on Monday unless necessary. Workers will also be taking part in action short of strike from Friday, June 3 to Sunday, July 10. Meaning station staff might not work overtime or rest days. Transport for London, TfL, said journeys may be affected by this and short-notice station closures are. TfL said it expects to run a service during the June 3 to July 10 action, including the Platinum Jubilee weekend, and plans to keep all stations open, but advised customers to check before they travel. The RMT has accused TfL of trying to bulldoze through 600 job losses, with Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the RMT, saying its members are not prepared. Station staff play a crucial role in serving the traveling public and were heroes during the 7/7 terrorist attacks, he said. Instead of seeking to cut jobs, TfL and Mayor Sadiq Khan need to put further pressure on the government to secure increased funding for the network so we can have a properly staffed modern 21st century. TfL Chief Operating Officer Andy Lord said, "We are doing our utmost to make the Platinum Jubilee weekend one to remember, and I can assure our customers we are working hard to minimize the impact of the RMT's frustrating strike. Our advice to Londoners and visitors is to check before they make their journeys in case of any short notice." On Monday, June 6, we advise anyone who needs to use the tube to consider whether they are able to work from home and only travel if necessary on this day. We are expecting severe disruption, which will continue into the morning of Tuesday, June 7 too. I apologize to customers for this and understand they will be frustrated by this strike action, but urge them not to take it out on those who are trying to help. We haven't proposed any changes to pensions, and nobody has or will lose their jobs because of the proposals we have. We know our customers deserve better than this, and that is why we're urging the RMT to call off this action and work with us to find a resolution to this dispute, which is threatening London's recovery from the pandemic. A previous strike planned for Green Park and Euston stations on Friday, June 3, was suspended last week by the RMT. Workers at both stations, which are set to be incredibly busy over the long Jubilee weekend, threatened to walk out amid a dispute over allegations of bullying among managers. However, the RMT has now said that strike will no longer take place on that date. After making significant progress in talks with London Underground, it said that an agreement has been reached with two bosses to have a review into the bullying issue that would involve. As a result, it has suspended the strike, but the RMT says if there are no immediate improvements and a just settlement is not reached, it will call for action on a different day. Mr. Lynch said, "London Underground has finally seen sense to take the union's arguments seriously regarding workplace bullying, and we will now suspend to the strike on June 3 to hopefully reach a resolution." Nick Dent, London Underground's Director of Customer Operations, said, "We are pleased that the RMT has suspended their industrial action involving station staff at Euston and Green Park stations on June 3, and we will continue to work with them to find a resolution to the issues raised." Mr. Lynch refused to rule out strikes that could last a very long time this summer. The far-left union is set to announce a series of strike dates that could last for months after thousands of its members voted in favor of walkouts last week. It is resisting government plans to shave £2 billion off the rail budget by modernising the industry with new technology and wants pay rises for workers in line with inflation. The RMT boss told Sky News' Sophie Ridge that walkouts could go on for a very very long time as there was no sign of a deal being. It comes as it was revealed the fanatical union bosses have already threatened strike action despite failing to begin official negotiations with operators. Pressed by Andrew Neil during an interview on his new Channel 4 show, Lynch admitted that despite already threatening industrial action, his far-left union had not yet sat down at the table for any formal talks with rail boss. Sources say the militant RMT is fighting even the slightest changes to Spanish practices, some dating back more than 100 years, despite taxpayer funding of £16 billion being used to prop up Britain's beleaguered passenger railway services during the pandemic. He said, Our workers are being told that thousands of them are going to lose. They're also being told that the conditions we negotiated with those companies are going to be ripped up and that their work-life balance will be disrupted and their whole lifestyle will be changed by these cuts. We're not in this game to attack people's working lives and disrupt the economy. This is a defensive dispute. They have put their tanks on our